Let's get started using ArcGIS online. In this tutorial, I invite you to follow along with me on your own computer, starting at arcgis.com. You don't have to do exactly as I do. Feel free to stop, pause the video, and explore on your own. There's so many tools to get to know in this program, but we're going to go through some of the basics together. Once you're at arcgis.com, I don't want you to sign in just yet, so you can ignore this sign in box. Just go to the top of the screen and click on Map. So now we've been brought to the new map viewer, and this is different than the classic view that we're going to be working with together. But I just want to explain a couple things in case you're interested in using the new map view instead of the classic map view. Totally up to you. But you'll notice that there are two main toolbars in the new map view. You have your left toolbar and your right toolbar. And all the features that you are interested in exploring are going to be there. Okay, we see that our Layers tab is expanded, so I can click on this X icon to go ahead and close that out. If I want to collapse or expand my toolbars, I can go to the bottom of the toolbar, the bottom corners, and I can hit collapse, and I can click on the arrows to expand. So in doing that, it can help me in knowing what the icons are meaning, or it just give me a little bit more room to work on my map. Okay, if I want to zoom in and out, in the bottom right hand part of my map, I see a plus and minus icon set here, and I can click on the plus to zoom in and the minus to zoom out. If I get lost in the world somewhere, let's say I don't know where I am, let's go zoom in somewhere here, and I don't want to be there anymore, I can click on the home button and that will take me back to the default view of North America. Okay, let's go ahead and open our Map Viewer Classic. At the top of your map in the upper right corner, click on Open in Map Viewer Classic. Now that we're in Map Viewer Classic, we can start to play around with different ways that you can interact with your map. So zooming in and zooming out are probably some of the most basic things you're going to be doing in the map, but there's different ways to do that. Again, you can use the plus minus icons that are at the top left corner of your map to zoom in and to zoom out. Again, if you get lost in the world, you can go ahead and click on your home button and that will bring you back to a view of North America. If I want to change the look or style of my map, I can do that. So the view that I'm looking at right now, or the style, is what's called a topographic map. If I want it to look a little bit more realistic and maybe less cartoony, I can change what's called the base map. So the base map is pretty much as it sounds. It's the base layer that all your other layers of data are going to sit over. Okay, so it is the bottommost layer of our map. If I go to my tools on the left-hand side, I can click on Base Map, and I have a whole bunch of base maps that I can choose from. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on Imagery Hybrid because this is going to give me a satellite imagery view, but it's still going to have some of that descriptive information, labels that are going to tell me about where I am in the world. Over on the left-hand side, I see I'm still getting a prompt to sign in. Don't worry, you don't have to do that right now, so you can just ignore the sign in button. But you'll notice that there are some other tabs that are really important. So if I click on Details, there are 3 tabs that open up: the About tab, the Content tab, and the Legend tab. The Content tab is going to tell you all of the data that you have built into your map, and you'll notice here that currently all I have is my base map. And your Legend is going to give you the key for the Symbology, which is describing the data that you're adding to your map later on. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and click on Content. If I don't want to see this pane anymore, I can click on this little arrow pointing inward to close that pane. Now, that's important if I need more area to view my map. And then if I want to see it again, I just click back on Details and it pops right back up. Okay, so I went ahead and I changed my base map. Let's explore a little bit more how to move around in our map. So you can do what I just did. You can use your mouse and click your way across the screen by just holding down your mouse button and dragging the screen to the left or to the right or whatever, and that will allow you to move. Now that's what we call a pane. So we can pane across the screen. Another way that you can interact with your map to view things is to zoom in. You can double click on a location, as I'm doing now, or you can use what's called the rubber band box method. And so if you go to your keyboard and you hold down the shift button and you click using your mouse to draw a box over an area, you let go, you can zoom in that way. And this is called the rubber band box. So I'm going to hold down shift, I'm going to use my mouse to click, and I've zoomed into that location that I've highlighted. So I can get some really high resolution here if I just continue to do that, where I can start to see the tops of houses and buildings and other landmarks in the area that I'm interested in. If I want to zoom out, you can use your scroll wheel. Okay, you can also scroll in using your scroll wheel, as I am doing, or you can also use the plus and minus icons in the upper left corner of your map using the minus button to zoom out. Another cool feature is to search for places on your map. So I want to look for, let's say, a place in Kona. So if I go to the top of my map, there's a search bar, and I can go ahead and search for Kailua, Kona, Hawaii. Oops. And it will take me to Kailua, Kona. And a little pop-up box will appear, and this could give me some more information on the place that I just searched for. I can also add this location to my map. So if I click on Add to Map Notes, I can see that in my content pane, Map Notes has now appeared. You'll also notice, if I zoom in, that there is a symbol now in that place that I was interested in. So this is where ArcGIS is telling me Kailua, Kona resides. So this is a center point location, pretty cool. Okay, if I want to do some other basic things like measure from this point to another point, I can click on the measure tool, which is at the top of my map right next to my search box. Click on measure tool and I have some options. I can measure a straight line, which is the ruler with the two little arrows on the top. I can measure the area within a polygon that I draw, or I can get some latitude and longitude coordinates for a specific point. If I hover my mouse over my map, I can get that information, okay? I can also choose what units I want this measurement to be in. So obviously for coordinate points, it would be in degrees, probably that would make sense. For linear distances, I can choose miles, kilometers, feet, so on. And for areas, square miles, acres, hectares, you choose. It's whatever you want to measure, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and measure a point from A to B, we'll say, using my ruler, and I can just go ahead and click on a location, and then I can draw my line to wherever I wanna go, and we'll say we'll go to this hotel right here, and this straight line distance is going to be 0.68 miles. When I double click, I go ahead and I finish that line, and I have that distance marked. Okay, so I can go ahead and write that down if I want to save that information. If I want to measure a polygon, I can go ahead and click on the polygon icon, and let's say I'm interested in measuring the distance around the Kona public swimming pool. I can do that. So I can use my mouse, anchor my point down, and I can click on one corner, click on the other corner, and I start to draw my shape like so. And if I double click, I finish my polygon, and now I can see that this polygon is 0 square miles. Now, that's not actually true. It's just the precision is not really there. So let's go ahead and redo that. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out maybe just a bit, and we will go ahead and measure, let's say, the parking lot. And this will give us some sort of a measurement here. So here we have 0.01 square miles. Now, I might be interested in something a little bit more relatable, let's say acres. So this whole area is 4.12 acres in size. Okay, so you can collect information about the size and distances of places that you choose. I can click out of that and I can zoom out to explore some other features. I'm interested in editing some features on my map. So right now we're not able to do that. We have to actually click into a modify mode. So if you go to the top of your map in the upper right corner, you'll see that there is a link to modify map. So if you click on modify map, now you are in editing mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some edits to our map. If I look at map notes in my content pane, I can see that map notes is checked, meaning that that little symbol that automatically came with the note for Kailua Kona is visible. If I wanted to not see that anymore, I can uncheck that box and it disappears. I can check it again and it reappears. So you can turn layers on and off in your content pane by checking on those boxes or unchecking those boxes depending on what you want to see. Okay, so I want to see that point, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. Here we can see Kailua Kona. All right, I am interested in putting a new map note and changing this symbol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that symbol and notice that there's this edit button here. I can click on edit and I can change the symbology, or I can add a description to that point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say this is a building. Doesn't matter what building at this point, and I want to change the symbol to something else. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go to my drop down box and I'm going to go to business, and let's see, anything interesting? Not really. Let's go to a different one. Let's see. General infrastructure. Here we go. Okay, that looks like a building. I'll click that and I'll change the symbol size to be a little bit bigger. So now this building has a different symbol and I've given it some information in my description text box, and I'm going to click close. All right. I want to add more information to my map. I'm zoomed in and I can see that there's this little bay here, and I would like to add a point to this beach. Okay, so I'm going to click on push pin in the add features pane, and I'm just going to go ahead and click that push pin down on the beach, and I'm going to call this Sandy Beach in Kona. And I'm going to label this point beach. Okay, now if I wanted to add even more information about this point, I can link a picture and I can link a URL from the internet to a really informative website in this particular box. So I would just take the URL from another website, paste it in here, and my audience, whoever's looking at my map, will be able to see that additional information if they hover over that point. I'm not going to do that for now, but know that you can. Click close. And now that point is there, okay? If I wanted to change the symbol, I can just click back on that icon and I can go back into my Symbology and make that change. And I'm going to click on outdoor recreation, that looks good, and make that a fish and make that a little bit bigger, okay, and close. All right, so now I have this beach, I have this building, cool. I want to add another feature to my map. I want to add a polygon. So I'm going to go back to my add features pane and I'm going to click on area, okay? And I think I want to trace out the area of this parking lot. So I'm going to go ahead and anchor my polygon at one point of this parking lot, and I'm going to continue to draw a line maybe to this side, and every time I click, I am creating a new vertex in this shape. Okay, so I am just loosely, going to semi-carefully create that shape, and then I'm going to double click to end that polygon. And so now it has been saved, I finished it, and I'm going to title this parking lot. and the description is going to be public parking in Kona. Okay, I'm going to change my symbol. Now, because this was a polygon, I can change the color that is inside the shape, and we'll make that maybe red. And I can change the transparency to be more or less opaque depending on how I want it to show on my map. So I'll reduce the transparency, okay, click close, and there I have it. So now I have 3 features on my map that I added in my map notes. Bookmarking is a great feature to use as you're building your map or moving around the map. And what it does is it basically saves different views that you're interested in. So let's say that I'm really interested in this view because I can see all 3 features that I built in my map. It's scaled in to the right level of resolution, and I just want to be able to come back easily to this view if I end up moving around or zooming in and out later on. So what I can do is I can go to the top of my map and I can click on Bookmarks. When I do that, I don't have any currently saved, so it should be blank. I can add a bookmark, and I'm going to call this Kona Features. Click Enter, and now that bookmark has been saved. So now, no matter where I go, if I zoom out, say like that, and I want to go back to that view, I just go back to Bookmarks, I click on Kona Features, and it'll take me right back to that view, which is really cool. You can create as many bookmarks as you want. So let's say I want to create a bookmark of my features. I want to create a bookmark of Kailua Kona. I could even call that West Hawaii. Or I can create a bookmark of the entire island, Hawaii Island. Okay. And I can create a bookmark of, let's say, all the Hawaiian Islands. Okay. Oops. Islands. Great. Okay, so now I can just navigate between these bookmarks very easily by just clicking on these saved views. It's that simple. All right, let's say that I want to delete all the features that I just created. Well, it's really easy. If you go back to your content pane and you click on map notes, there are 3 little dots right underneath the layer name. If I click on that, a menu opens up, and I can choose from this drop-down list what I want to do. So if I want to remove them entirely, I can click Remove. If I want to copy this layer to create 2 sets to be able to turn one on or off, I can do that. If I want to rename map notes to something like, I don't know, let's say Kailua Kona Fun, I can do that too. And yeah, you can change elements of the layer using your menu features here. There's a lot of data that you can access and add to your map depending on the type of map that you want to make or the type of question that you want to try to answer. And one of the ways that you can look at that information is by adding layers. So all of the spatial data that we see on a map is compiled in what's called a layer. And so maps essentially are just layers and layers and layers of information that come together to tell some sort of a story or to show us a trend or to help us to visualize the world spatially. So let's go ahead and look at information that's out there for Kona. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Add. So in my menu bar here, click on the Add button, and I'm going to search for layers. Okay, and I'm searching in a public database through ArcGIS Online. This is all free data that you have access to. So I can search for layers, and I'm going to go ahead and search for Recreation Hawaii. Cool. All right, so it looks like the state of Hawaii has some information about state parks that I can add to my map if I'm interested. I'm not really sure if this is what I want to add to my map, so I'm going to go ahead and just explore it. So if you click on a layer, description of that layer pops up. So this is giving me information for the 5 major islands. Okay, it looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my map. So I click on Add to Map at the bottom. So notice that there's some data that has been added to my map. If I don't like that, or I made a mistake, I can remove it from my map by clicking that button again. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and close this panel, X out of there, and I'm going to pan and kind of check this out. So it looks like the area around Hulihe'e Palace in Kailua Kona is actually considered part of the state park system. Notice that the yellow line indicates the boundary, and on the inside there's those cross lines indicating that entire area within that polygon is included in that data point. Okay, if I zoom out, we can check out other places on the island that also contain information about state park boundaries. So notice if we go north, we can see there's some more state parks. If we go around the island, there's quite a bit there. Okay, so all those yellow locations are areas of state parks and their boundaries. If I want to zoom out a little bit more, I can see how representative this data is across Hawaii, and I can see that there's a lot of information on Oahu, and there's some information on Kauai and Maui as well. Let's say I don't want to look at the state park boundaries layer anymore. I can go back to my Details tab. Under my Content tab, I can deselect state park boundaries, and that layer disappears. Okay, see it again, I can turn it back on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. Depends on what you want. At some point, you're probably going to be interested in learning a little bit more information about the data within a layer. You can do that a couple of ways. If you are looking at your map and you're looking at a feature and you want to know more about it, you can click on that feature, and sometimes a pop-up box describing that feature will appear. So in this case, this is object 192 within my data set. As we have seen, we know that there's a lot of other places that are state parks in the state, and so this particular feature has been given an ID of 192. Its name is Hulihe'e Palace. It sits on just over 1 acre, and the dimensions of that feature are also given. Okay, so that's some interesting information that you might want to know. Okay, you can also find this information in other places. So I'm going to click out of that. If I go to my content pane, under State Park Boundaries, which is the layer name, I see a bunch of icons. And if I look at the second icon it says Show Table. If I click on Show Table, the attribute table for all of the features in my data set pops up. Okay, so I can look at all of that information in a nice handy dandy table. And if I click on the column heading, the information can be sorted based on that particular category. Okay, so that might help you in finding a particular feature. All right, let's look at some other symbols here. So this first icon is your legend. So this is just telling me what the different levels are within this particular layer. My attribute table, which we already looked at, so I'm going to click out of that. This third symbol here with the shapes is describing my symbology. So if I wanted to change the symbology that's being used to describe each of the features, I could do that. So I could click on options here, and let's say I wanted to change my symbol. I just click on the symbol icon, and then I can change the color. For the fill, I can change the outline. Let's say I want to make it pink. Sure. I want to make it a little bit more transparent. I want to decrease the line width. Okay, and now I've changed the symbology for that particular feature. If I press OK, it will go ahead and save my changes. press done, I can then move out of Symbology into another particular tool. Okay, so the next icon is filter. So if I wanted to filter data, I can use that tool. If I go to the more options icon, those three little dots, I'll see that there's a bunch of other menu options here, which I could play around with later on. Okay, so those are ways that you can change symbology, look at attributes, and look at your legend for each particular layer. Now that you've done all this work, you might be interested in saving your map. Now, if you do, you can go to the top of your map and you can click on Save. You can save or save as, depending on what you need, and you will be prompted to log in to your ArcGIS online account. At this point, you can do that if you'd like to save your work, or you can continue just to play around and check out some of the other features that ArcGIS Online has to offer. Okay, if you want to check out maps that other people have made, you can go over to the top right portion of your screen under New Maps, click on the drop-down arrow, and you can look at some other maps that might be there, or you can go ahead and start a new map and try your hand at making your own.